Meeting to order. It is Wednesday, July 31st, and it is 1:32 p.m. Item number 2, roll call.
Yes, I just wanted to highlight that due to a couple of our stakeholders that had prior engagements, we did open it up for virtual. So we do have, I believe, the city of Brownsville online right now. So just wanted to highlight that this time around we did do that in the spirit of meeting quorum. So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Roll call. For the record, this meeting agenda was posted to the Secretary of State's website and our website on Thursday, the 25th at 3:53 p.m. Roll call. Hidalgo County,
Present.
City of Brownsville,
Present.
Cameron County, City of McAllen, City of Edinburgh, City of Mission, City of Harlingen, City of FAR, Starr County. I saw him as well. Okay,
Thank you, Gabe.
I don't know. City of San Benito, Cameron County RMA, Hidalgo County RMA, Valley Metro, TxDOT, Quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you. I know we've got some new people sitting at the table on these little microphones. Just make sure that you push the button so that it turns green when you're going to speak. That way everybody can hear you, not just in here, but the virtual audience as well. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get to business. Item number 3, public comments. No comments? All right. Go ahead and move on to item number 4, action and discussion items. A, approval of the minutes for May 29th, 2024. The minutes were included in your packages. Are there any comments, changes that need to be made?
I have one under item 4E. It states Mayor Ricardo Guerra from the city of San Benito. Under 4F, it's Mayor Ricardo Garza from city of San Benito. So one of those needs to be.
We'll reflect those changes to the correct name or correct it so that it is recorded correctly. Any other comments or changes? There being none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by TxDOT, second by Starr County. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, discussion and action on fiscal year 2024-2025 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment number 3. Mr. Cantu.
Good afternoon, policy board members. I'm here to present the amendment number 3 to the UPWP. This amendment is there's no dollar changes. It's just verbiage and narrative in the planning document. The 2 items that FHWA requested from us to be in compliance was to do the planning emphasis areas and to change one of our tasks to be titled correctly the way that they wanted to be worded, which basically says for us to use 2.5% for set aside to be used for complete streets, which is the alternative set aside for that. And then another one was at the end of the UPWP, we did have the BPAC members outdated, so that one has been updated. Another one was for another verbiage that was added as well was for grant coordination. Right now, we do not have anywhere in the document saying how grants are going to be coordinated, administrated, and basically followed from cradle to grave throughout the entire grant process. So now that has been added to, and those are the major changes in the planning document. And this item is an action item.
This is an action item, Mayor. Any questions?
Just a real quick comment to update the TxDOT representative. I think that was discussed at the TAC to reflect Agustin Ramirez in lieu of Craig Wachowski.
Yes, that was one of the items.
Thank you.
And let the record reflect that Mayor Harlingen, City of Harlingen is now present. Any other comments? There being none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by CCRMA and a second by San Benito. Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Cantu. Item C, discussion and action on TJKM. Man, I gotta get glasses. SS4A, look like threes and sixes and contract amendment.
Yes,
But
so
no.
this is another item. This is one of the contracts that we currently have right now with TJKM. Their proposal was for $199,000, but the grant that we received was for $250. So in order for us not to lose those $50,000 and get sent back to the federal, so we can utilize it all, we asked to amend the contract to extend more work and done for us during that study. And right here, I do have Melanie that has the breakdown of the additional work that they will be doing.
Yeah, so we added deliverables. The deliverables added were that they would be reporting the initial project status, mid-project status, final project status to BPAC, TAC, and policy. We also included that the action plan would include potential pilot locations in Stark County, Hidalgo County, City of Harlingen, and City of Brownsville. Also to include safety countermeasures, general recommendations. We also extended the timeline. So before it was up to December of this year. Now it's March 31st, 2025.
Is that extension just to do that extra work?
Yeah.
Okay, so the amendments were included in the package. Does anybody have any further questions or comments? There being none, I'll entertain a motion. Except as presented from
Second.
Stark County and second by Hidalgo County RMA. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, discussion and action on ATG MTP contract amendment. Mr. Cantu.
Yes, so this one is, again, another contract that we currently have with Alliance Transportation Group. They're working on our 2050 MTP. They gave us a proposal as well of $338,000. Now we're trying to extend the contract an additional year. The reason being is because we have been informed that our current MTP actually expires next year of 2025, not this year, 2024. So due to we have another year, we asked for them to extend the contract so they can have more time. And the reason why we asked for more time as well is for our travel demand model. We're asking for them to also help us review and validate our travel demand model. Right now, it's currently being worked by TxDOT. But we do believe that there might be some time that they're going to ask us to validate everything, the changes that they have done to the travel demand model. So we want to have them just there to help us because it does have to be completed before the model completion date. You have something to say? Sure. And that's about it. I do have Mr. Ben Magayan that has a breakdown of everything that will be done in this study as well.
Just have one more additional item to add. Alongside from ATG being there to assist us with reviewing and, providing feedback back to TxDOT on the data, they're also adding onto the contract an opportunity for them to actually provide us training on the outputs and the data as well. So that's another component that's being added onto the contract. Thank you.
So the only question I have before you get started is, by extending these contracts, do we put any other trickle down contracts or deadlines in jeopardy by extending this study or the deliverables that we're talking about?
So on this one, as mentioned before, now we know that our MTP doesn't expire this year, it actually expires next year. So pushing this additional year will help us actually make the MTP better and everything, because we did give an extended year for it. So it will not mess up any of the deadlines that we have.
I was just checking to make sure that there wasn't something else aside from that in particular, other studies or any other actionable items that may be delayed because of an extension.
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for having me to further explain. As Fern mentioned, the added scope and schedule to this contract allows us to help provide support to your staff on how we review the model. Not only are we, TxDOT has asked that your staff review the different model components as they're developed. We propose working with them and showing them how we do those types of data reviews, validation. So our goal is to help increase your staff's capacity, not just do the review ourselves. Another important factor here is the travel demand model is currently scheduled to be delivered after the current contract end date. It's a really important input to your project scoring process that you have adopted as part of your transportation performance management framework. And so we want to make sure that we incorporate the outputs from the travel demand model in the assessment of your MTP projects. So as we said, our contract currently ends this December. Your MTP isn't due until December 2025, with that model not being delivered until after the turn of the new year. We would have to currently deliver an MTP without the travel demand model inputs. Our federal rules tell us once we've developed those tools, we're supposed to use the latest and greatest. Since it's about to be released, we thought it'd be best to help incorporate those outputs for your model. So this is really just adding task 7, which is the travel demand model review and support. As Mr. Diaz has mentioned, that includes training. So we want to help work with your staff on reviewing what we review for the network for the transportation analysis zones, which is how we review the demographics in the model, and also how we integrate with the interface that TTI has developed for us. So shown here on the one image is the old model footprint. It doesn't include portions of Starr County. The other map here is actually from your resilience study, but we just want to highlight that we are aware of the new study area and we have good resources to pull from for validation of our demographic data that TxDOT and their contract support is asking your staff to review. So similarly with the network, I believe your staff have already performed a preliminary review of the network, but we're here to help support them in any additional reviews for that, as well as Mr. Luis has mentioned staff training for your staff as we do those reviews. So we won't just be doing it in a black box and then giving it back. We'll be doing it alongside your staff. So the updated schedule is extending it to December of 2025, but still targeting getting those draft chapters out to y'all well in advance of that date so that you have time to review them, have a lot of time to give feedback, and that also gives us more time to do more robust public involvement. So with that, we provided in your packet updates to the project management plan. It's added our key travel demand modeling lead as a key stakeholder, and also adds the task 7 to the scope of services, as well as that training component for your staff. So this will, if approved, this is going to be codified into our contract so that you'll have that too to lean back on to ensure that we deliver the services we're telling you we're delivering.
The increase in budget comes from, or the funding comes from where?
So that will be used towards task 7, as he had mentioned, which would go towards the training, reviewing, and analyzing our travel demand models be submitted, and a little portion for the actual extension for the 1 year.
Well, what I'm asking, I'm sorry, I didn't ask correctly, but this money is coming from where?
It's still, we had budgeted already for this to be used in our UPWP. When they turned in their proposal, it was under our budgeted amount. So basically, we were still in range of being effective in our budget.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Second, motion by TxDOT, second by City of McAllen. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Post same sign. Okay. Motion carries.
Just want to add, thank you. Just want to add, Mr. Ben Magayon is going to be sticking around a little bit after the meeting today to conduct stakeholder interviews. So if there's anyone at the table, any of the board members that have a little bit of time, you have an opportunity to engage with him to conduct an interview towards the MTP. Just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion did pass, just in case that was lost. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item E, discussion and action for qualifications, RFQ for legal services for the RGVMPO contract review.
Yes.
Mr. Cantu.
Yeah, my last item that I got to present. So this is for the legal services. The legal services was posted on at our procurement website at the LRGVDC. It was posted on the newspaper. It was posted on the state national one as well. And from those postings, we did receive 2, and their scores are on the screen right now. And we did receive 2 submittals from Jackson Walker and Caso Law Firm. These are the scores that they were scored at our scoring committee, and TAC did approve these scores to go with Jackson Walker. And Jackson Walker is from Austin and Caso is from here locally. So it was reached out all the way up to Austin. So we do know that a lot of people were able to review this RFQ. And the staff recommends, if you guys would like to go with Jackson Walker as TAC and the subcommittee has agreed on, or Caso. Yes, sir.
Hourly rate was for either one. Did I miss that?
Oh, this was an RFQ, not an RFP, so we have not gotten their proposal
They
yet.
didn't submit their hourly rate?
They did not. This was just a qualification, a request for qualifications.
Mm.
So
In-
that
in
is,
the- In the RFQ, we didn't request, also didn't request what their potential billing rates were?
no, we did not. I don't know if I can get our procurement to come. Would you like to come discuss the difference between the RFQ and RFP? I do understand that the next step, once you guys select the candidate, to go out and ask for their proposal and their hourly rate. But we do have our procurement director. He could explain the process of why we did it this way, if you guys would like. It was a new thing that we did.
Well, I mean, you know,
But we
lawyers have pretty good opinions of themselves, and if I'm not saying, I'm not disparaging either one. Well, I'm just curious. I would venture to guess a national firm may have a higher hourly rate. I don't know if they do, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the work is worth that much of a difference. Perhaps it is, but I know even if I was considering, if I submitted, hourly rate is something that would, it concerns me that neither one of them put that in, so, but it's an RFQ, so whatever the board wants, but that's an interesting.
Well, I mean, from here, I think you would go to negotiating a contract. The issue there is on what basis
what
do you
basis,
have, you have a
exactly.
comparison to figure out whether it's a competitive rate or
Yeah.
not. Because we have a budget for this, don't we?
yes.
And how
What
much
is-
is that?
My other question is, do we anticipate they need to be at these meetings? The
That's-
Travel is gonna be way more for the other firm.
Right, well, what's the budget?
So the budget right now, we do not have it identified exactly what the dollar amount is. We're just gonna go by having them as an hourly rate. So basically, when we do send them a paperwork over there, they would say our hourly rate is X amount, and then we would just get billed for those hours. So we don't have a set budget, no.
So the main intent really is just to have legal and attorney review MOUs, contracts, et cetera.
Yes,
Correct.
sir. And an important component to add on to this is that our planning agreement with the LRGVDC actually expires in September. So this acquiring of these legal services will also facilitate that. So
The
we
next
plan-
agreement?
Yes, sir. So that's the time sensitive, I guess, to this item.
So, on the score sheet, they were very close in the scoring. Isn't that, can you go back to?
Yes. Can you go back to page 116, please?
It seemed that they weren't too far, apart. And I kind of share the judge's, concerns regarding billing, because even if they are going to be billing contracts, once you go out, I'm sure that they're going to want their hourly rate, whatever that may be. And isn't there some value in also choosing a local firm?
Yep.
Understanding the needs of the region and things of that nature. And I just, cost effective, I would imagine that there would be cost savings, substantial, most likely.
So just a couple things to consider. Obviously, this is based on qualifications at the end of the day, right? So the team, when evaluated, came up with a recommendation. Should we go with Jackson Walker, we would be negotiating the cost. In the event that we feel the costs are excessive and we cannot reach an agreement, I would imagine that at that point, we can say no, and we go on to the next one, right? And just one final thought, I mean, today's world with technology the way it is, Teams and electronic, I mean, I don't know if they would have to be present here to review a document. They may be able to do it from wherever they're from. So just a couple things to consider moving forward. But I just wanted to reiterate, it's based on qualifications and they did score a little higher.
So would it be, your procurement specialist is here somewhere, would we be able to ask for rates?
For both of them at simultaneously?
Yes. Yeah, including travel or representation and what's in,
You're not expecting them to start participating in attending meetings or this is
No, this is just for
going
review.
kind of on an on as needed basis.
Right, yes, sir, on standby as needed, yes, sir, and an hourly rate.
go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, just some quick things. So the scope was for them just to review externally. There was gonna be no travel involved. That was the scope of work. So once we get the qualifications set up and looked at, we would go in and try and negotiate some pricing with them.
Mm, yeah.
Jackson Walker was from where?
Yeah.
Do they,
They're
do
Austin,
they do
Houston
work
area.
with Text dot or? I'm, I guess, somewhat partial to local.
Yeah.
So do you know on the, Mr. Davila, what the difference was in like why the scoring is?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, we have the score sheets. We have several qualifications that we identified for them to score. I don't know if we have them here with us, but we can provide those and then to see what exactly, how they score.
The scoring is in the packet.
Yes.
It says experience and expertise is 30 points,
Mhm.
qualifications of legal team 30 points, understanding of MPO needs 20, resources and capacity 20, which equal to 100 points. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. But we don't
Yeah,
have their individual.
I saw that, but we don't have the
Yeah, the
individual.
individual
So I know I typically like to see that just to understand, but I think I agree. I think local, if we can stay local is probably preferable.
It's just depending on where the fundings come, we can't really be geo-locked. Certain areas.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, if it's going to be just to review contracts, it seems like you'd want, if you have the opportunity, and I just don't understand this, without having the individual scoring to see where that deviated, because it seems that one score kind of threw it off.
I mean, yeah, we can certainly provide copies of each evaluation.
Yeah, to the gentleman's point, these are federal funds and we have a process in place. It's the highest ranked and we need to negotiate with the highest firm. That's if federal funds are being used as part of the procurement process. And I believe the TAC also recommended Jackson Walker. Is that correct?
Just curious, as far as professional services, we can't base that, the RFQ and the RFP, you can't get rates on that,
For
you
professional
negotiate that
services, the
thereafter.
process is to go out for qualifications first. Once we get the qualifications, have them rated and evaluated, then we're able to go and seek out pricing.
Thank you.
The question then, maybe we could have short circuited this entire discussion, is if the procurement process is to go with the highest recommendation, we have to because it involves federal dollars. Is that what you're saying? Why don't you say it at the beginning?
Agreed.
So the idea here is we don't want to put ourselves at risk, right? If we violate this, then we would have to be would be responsible to pay.
But then Mike, I go
So I
back,
have
to-
staff too, and they're giving me all the background information as we go.
but again, that goes back to my question. I was like, we negotiate a contract under what basis? Like, we don't know if we're getting a good or a bad deal. I mean, are we locked into this?
Part of
Because
the
we have to?
RFQ is to get an independent cost analysis. We did get some rates based out of the state of Texas. And we have that to compare it to whenever they present rates.
So at this point,
Where's that information?
Not sure that was in the RFQ.
It wasn't in, it is in the RFQ. Basically, it is the national average.
Yeah.
National averages.
Technically, they should be
there's a-
requesting authorization to negotiate a contract, not asking authorization to grant the contract.
Yeah.
Because then they need to come back before the board after the negotiated rate and all the details are
It still goes back,
dotted.
goes back to our point.
Yes, sir.
The chairman just raised it again.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a good negotiated rate, but
I don't know. So at this point, then, I guess the motion that we would be considering is whether to accept the scoring and begin the negotiations with the highest ranked firm, which would be Jackson Walker. Is that right? I don't know that we have another choice, right?
I guess not. Is that right, Pete?
Yes, that's my understanding.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
As stated by Commissioner Fuentes, motion.
Motion by TxDOT. Second by City of San Benito. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Cantu, you earned your check today. Congratulations. Item 5A, congestion management process update, Ms. Clarissa Gonzalez.
Hi, good afternoon. This is an information item to present the first draft of the congestion management process. Okay. So to give you all an outline of what this presentation will look like after an introduction, I will go over a timeline and summarize the Code of Federal Regulations as it relates to the CMP, and then go through the 8-step process as guided by FHWA. So the purpose of the CMP is to comply with federal regulations by way of report. In February, a CMP subcommittee was formed to foster productive discussions establishing regional goals and evaluating traffic challenges. The following slides are from that discussion. So in spring, we got input from the subcommittee, and in June, the draft was sent to the federal agent reviewing our CMP. And we are pending his feedback, but his initial review of a summarized version of our CMP was to incorporate data from transit and to connect performance measures in the highway tip and the transit tip. So right now we're currently incorporating feedback. At the end of August, the final draft will be complete, and we will bring it back to the board for approval in September. And then with an October backup date if it's tabled. And then ultimately it will be presented to FHWA and FTA in December during the MPO's in-person certification review. So this is the Code of Federal Regulations that is relevant to the CMP, and there's a link to it at the bottom left. So in summary, the CMP shall be established cooperatively and assess congestion, define methods to monitor and evaluate the performance, and then identify underlying causes of recurring and non-recurring congestion, and then ultimately evaluate the effectiveness of the implemented actions. It shall include items like performance measures, example strategies, an implementation schedule, and possible funding sources, and data collection and the definition of objectives. So to incorporate all of these aspects, FHWA developed these 8 steps that are in a guidebook and also linked here. The draft follows the same structure as this 8-step process, chapter by chapter. So the first chapter is consolidated into this one table that focuses on 3 principles, and the 3 principles are to increase travel time reliability, promote a sustainable network, and improve truck travel time. In the second column, the goals get more specific to the principle, and then in the last column, the objectives quantify what we'd like to see achieved upon evaluation in later dates. And this table can be updated as frequently as annually by way of technical report or every 4 to 5 years. Chapter 2, Step 2, defines the network, and for this, the MPO used INRIX and RIDIS data, which references vehicle probe data collected directly from the cars traveling on the network. So it provides real-time data. Step 3 incorporates the metrics to quantify performance measures such as travel time reliability and travel delay costs and truck travel time reliability. So it answers how we measure congestion for our region. Step 4 collects the data. It answers the question of how the system is performing. And so the following are graphics that display data collected from our region. These pie charts show the causes of congestion on the national highway system. The top left is nationwide, the top right is Texas statewide, and then the bottom 3 are the countywide results of causes of congestion. Sorry, if you notice the light green color on the bottom is the proportion that shows where the user delay costs stem from signals. And you can see that in our counties, the causes of delay is more so by signals compared to the nation and state. These tables and map shows the top 10 bottlenecks in our region, in our MAB. And it was originally the top 10 and it was extended to be the top 20 to incorporate locations in Cameron County.
So the top 10 were all in Hidalgo?
Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations, and I'm sorry to hear that.
And so on that note, a major source of congestion or travel delay is occurring near the interchange and the border crossings. But data collected after construction will be evaluated as part of the monitoring process to prove the effectiveness of the investments. And this graphic shows the percentage of time spent at specific speeds for northbound and southbound travelers. It has a location and time. And we did this for multiple corridors. This line graph shows precisely what times, like during AM and peak periods, where the actual speed drops below the free flow speeds. And that's part of the data collection. As part of step 5, where we analyze the congestion and the problems and needs, we translate this data into meaningful measures of performance. Chapter 6 has an individual focus on identifying and assessing strategies, as in making like a toolbox of strategies that would be effective in reducing congestion. There's an individual focus on demand management, traffic operations, public transportation, and roadway improvements. This is strategies like light synchronization. So in step 7, it ties in the projects programmed in the MTP and TIP by listing projects that address congestion by funding source. And then lastly, step 8 describes a plan, of course, to monitor the effectiveness of the implemented strategies in the future, especially for newly constructed projects. And so if there's any feedback that you'd like to provide, there is an open-ended link to a response survey, and I can also take questions and comments.
I have a question. So to me, the real study here, if that's the most congested area, is what was the traffic flow before they started construction and what does it look like after? Do we have the numbers before?
Yeah, it does have a history of data dating back to like I think before 2019. So we can pull that data and definitely have a before and after.
Okay.
The other thing is just recently we concluded a study, didn't we, with traffic light synchronization and traffic flows? I mean, that was presented to us just a couple of meetings
Was
ago.
that, yeah, was that an overlay? Or
Obviously, they started in
some-
Cameron County first. And they're not considering TxDOT, right?
Yeah, so that is our, we call it the congestion delay study. And that is focused entirely on traffic signal, synchronization of signalization. And so feedback from the Fed said that we need to have a congestion management process, which incorporates all the other aspects of congestion, which is providing alternative transportation like transit and bike ped infrastructure and truck travel time.
So when should this be concluded?
This will be concluded in September.
And then who's going to be the end user of this report?
This should be the public officials and also the public. and transport, planning partners.
Maybe I missed it, but when are the studies going to be conducted?
The,
Concluded or conducted?
The studies were conducted already?
yes, the research has been conducted over the past year, and the research is still ongoing, and we're editing draft 2 now, and we're presenting it in September.
And the reason I asked the question is, obviously, we're all anticipating the completion of the interchange
Yeah.
project. We anticipate the main lanes to be open here in September. And so a lot of this congestion.
September of this year.
Of this year, September 2024. Thank you for the clarification, Judge. But the idea or the concern is, obviously, in construction, we have reduced lanes and what have you. Once we open up the main lanes, you're going to see a lot more free flow, and that may play a role on the analysis that has already been conducted. And so I just wanted to bring that to light.
Okay, with that, knowing that that's gonna happen, and hopefully it'll help, would that be a detriment to the information that's gonna be presented or the information that's been collected or recorded? When we know that it's maybe gonna be, it's bad right now, so we know it's gonna get better.
Yeah, no, those are great questions. So the purpose, I mean, the point of the CMP is so that it's cyclic in nature, so it doesn't just report once right before a project is completed. So what if in this case it does align with September, and actually we have a backup date in October to incorporate data from September, and since we get it real time, we would be able to quickly analyze the traveling time from September. If we would like to push it to October, that's always an option.
Since this is mandated, is there a compliance issue that we have to address from the outcomes of this?
It doesn't have a program of funds associated with it, but it is tied to how we incorporate performance measures into our transit tip. So we're not necessarily, we don't have to implement all of the strategies in here, and we can add strategies that are not in here.
So as we move forward, obviously, we're going to be doing this on a regular basis where we're doing the analysis. So yeah, for the last 3 years that we've been in construction, it shows delay, congestion and things of that nature. But then we're also going to be adding data in the future that shows free flow, and that'll help our numbers. We definitely, as a region, need to be aware that this could potentially be a major issue for us. And so signal synchronization is a big part of that. And I think that we all can do a little bit better job, whether it's at the individual cities, text up signals that we're responsible for, to improve in that area. And then just look at overall quality as we go through the planning processes. So, are we requiring, green space, if you will, in developments that are occurring, detention ponds, things of that nature. They're all interconnected, folks. And I hear of situations in some of the major metro areas where they have CMAQ money to address some of these concerns. We don't want to be part of that. That's funding that's being added to those MPOs, but let me tell you, it's probably not enough to address these concerns. So I appreciate the report. I think that we'll be adding as we go, and I sincerely do anticipate an improvement once this interchange project is completed this fall.
Any other questions or comments? Keep us posted on the outcome of this, and again, keep looking for funds that may become available because of this. And obviously, they may not be able to address everything, but I think all of us know that there's some local participation in addressing these issues. So hopefully we can partner up as counties and cities, text out to the extent that they can to help relieve some of that congestion. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
With no further questions, we'll move on to item B, National Ambient Air Quality Standard Revision.
Yes,
Great.
so to that note of, sorry, shifting gears. So effective May 6th, the limit for fine particulate matter, also known as PM 2.5, was reduced from 9 micrograms per cubic meter was reduced from 12 micrograms per cubic meter to 9 micrograms per cubic meter. And this is the annual arithmetic mean where the concentration is calculated using the past 3 years of data. I apologize if that was on the next slide. So that is the code that has changed from the EPA that was reported to us from TCEQ. And so historically, the primary annual standard was reduced by 3 micrograms every 12 to 15 years. And so in 97, it was 15. In 2012, it was revised to 12. And then in 24, now it's revised down to 9. And so in June, TCEQ hosted that public information meeting to notify us of the potential impacts of the new standard. In May, the LRGVDC board accepted an air quality planning grant from TCEQ, which allowed for that list of bulleted actions as a planning activity. They showed us that the potentially affected counties are shown here in red, where the sensors in Cameron and Hidalgo have historically been exceeding the limit. Cameron being the second on the list and Hidalgo being around the 8th. And so these slides show the data that their sensors have been collecting for the past 3 years, also known as the design value. So the design value of 2022 incorporates 21. Sorry.
Real quick.
Yes.
That star, yeah. Where is it? Where is it being measured?
I'm sorry?
Do we know exactly the location for the measure? I know, but say exactly. Brownsville,
Yes.
East 6th Street and then Isla Blanca at the park?
Yes. So those two names, that's the name of the sensor location. And if you go to the TCEQ websites, if you want to see the precise location, they have images of pictures of like the north, south, and east view of what the sensor is looking at. So you can see exactly where that's at. And there at the end, there's a host of links if you wanted to see that. And so, yeah, 2020, the 23 design annual, sorry, the preliminary 2023 annual PM 2.5 design value incorporates 3 years. So that is 21, 22, and 23. And these are the locations of the sensors in Hidalgo County. And this is only the data that is being recorded from the particulate matter, fine particulate matter. It doesn't include ozone or the other pollutants. And so this is the implementation schedule timeline. And right now we are at the red line. So after the revision is effective in February of next year, we'll know the results from TCEQ, and then EPA will tell us in October. And the final designation will be effective in 2026, after which we have 18 months to TCEQ to produce the state implementation plan, or SIP. And so right now, through August, TCEQ is open for public comment, which is why we're presenting this information today. And then here are the host of links and resources that are useful for this subject. And for now, the MPO plans to closely monitor the development of this revision and work with planning partners to get a better understanding of the implications.
Anything else?
Can we object to the location of the monitoring? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the traffic just at the bridges would generate a bunch of extra gas.
Yeah, and so I guess they're open for
TCEQ?
comments. Yeah, TCEQ and the EPA would be open to listen to those kinds of comments. And I know that if there was an event where, like a wildfire that caused an unusual spike in the system, that they're reviewing and taking input of events like that would happen, that they should be aware of to help understand their validation of the data.
So.
Frank, it's not her fault, man.
I mean, to pass along the information, I think would be useful, yes. Definitely, yeah.
I think we need to speak to TCEQ.
I'd be
Yeah.
glad to object if you need a board member to.
Well, when it comes to the environment, obviously, there's all sorts of contributing factors. And so the closer these monitors are to the international boundary, there has to be some sort of contribution, if you will, from Matamoros, from Rio Bravo, from Reynosa, and so on and so forth. And so I think with the location of these monitors plays a role. as we move forward. I'm not sure if, we've been in drought for a long time. Everything's nice and green today. I'm blessed to have the rains we've had the last 2, 3 months. But before that, it was super dry. And so you start thinking about cleaning of the environment by Mother Nature itself. So I think we need to closely monitor this as well moving forward and try to start thinking outside the box. I'm just wondering what some of the other areas, the other metro areas are doing to try and mitigate some of these things. So I'd like to challenge you all to start taking a look at that and letting us know what opportunities we may have moving
Sure.
forward.
Yes, so there's currently no Texas MPOs that have that are above the PM 2.5, so we would be reaching out to international states, and also to the note of the international involvement of affecting the sensors. In the TCEQ public information meeting, Mayor Garza did ask that question, which was a good question, and it was the response was that in some kind of code there's a line that says that only after the designation is made that they can review international effects. So once the designation is made, then they can see how Mexico is affecting those data, which that's in their code or law.
Any other comments or questions? Information only, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Item C, presentation discussion on category 7 utilization and carryover efforts. Ms. Eva Garcia.
Good afternoon, board members. Eva Garcia here, giving another update on Category 7 utilization and carryover efforts. I've been giving you updates. As you know, we had been meeting with the Project Readiness Group on a monthly basis, and we took a sabbatical in July and August, and we'll be meeting again in September. So this is just really a recap of things you already know, which is in January, the Texas Administrative Code was amended with a new carryover threshold of 200% for Category 7 funds, and also CMAQ funds, Category 5, which we currently don't get, but we'll see how the air quality impacts our CMAQ state funding. But moving forward, I think we started meeting in March to kind of analyze our situation for this huge carryover that we've had in Category 7 funding. And you can see in March, we were looking to only obligate $25 million, which a low utilization rate, a low obligation rate means that we would have higher carryover because we're not utilizing all of our allocation of funding. But now that we're in June, what we were able to see with the support of Hidalgo County Precinct 2 and Precinct 3 with Nolana Loop and Liberty, we were able to successfully obligate $60 million instead of the $25 million that was originally planned. So again, all these projects have been obligated, but they do have to be contracted and awarded and proceed in order to maintain that utilization rate for fiscal year 24. But TxDOT is wrapping up fiscal year 2024. They typically have the August redistribution of funds, and we are meeting with the Fin Division actually tomorrow morning to kind of go over what our estimates have been. All of the project readiness meetings had been utilizing the previous tip. As you know, we adopted a new tip. Some projects have changed, and the September project readiness will reflect those changes and incorporate new estimates based on that. But again, for fiscal year 24, we were able to increase our utilization by $35 million, and that decreased our carryover. And so now we have, we are still carrying over, but by 267% instead of 374%. So we still have some ways to go. So we analyzed fiscal year 25. We've moved some projects around from March to June, and we moved some projects up. So we're hoping, again, this is going to change in September. We'll look at it, but we are pretty confident that we'll be able to get under the 200% threshold by the end of fiscal year 25, so long as projects continue to develop. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, so I think she answered it, but so when's our quote unquote deadline so that we don't have that, the carryover problem?
Yeah,
The end of fiscal 25?
we're actually, we're meeting with them tomorrow with TPP and with Fin. These are two divisions of TxDOT, and I'll let Mr. Alvarez speak to it. But my understanding is that we'll be able to present a case for our strategy to get under the 200% threshold this year, which is tomorrow and maybe a future meeting. But
Oh, okay.
Presenting the strategy to get under the 200% threshold should help us. But do you have anything to add?
Eva, do you mind going to the previous slide that show the projects that are being considered to move up
Currently or for the?
for the next go around?
I think you had it there.
Yeah, I think, well, had fiscal year 24, so this is fiscal year 25, what we currently have on our estimates. And I think there's still some changes that are coming in through the new tip. And I don't know, Rudy might be able to speak to that better.
Yes, to your point earlier, I mean, as long as we continue to develop these projects, get them to letting, this will help us get closer to that 200%. And really, 200% is, we should be at zero. We should be utilizing every fund
Right, agree.
that's available to us, and that should be the ultimate goal. But for the time being, we need to definitely try and get under the 200%, so we don't have some of these allocations redistributed. There are multiple divisions at TxDOT. We will be part of that discussion, the FAR district staff, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then we'll continue to evaluate what opportunities we have to accelerate projects moving forward.
Thank you. And just to kind of add to what you're saying, at the beginning of fiscal year 24, when we first became aware of the tax changes, we were at risk of having $57 million transferred. And I really want to bring that home. So after fiscal year 24, we're still at risk to have 21.93 million transfer. Again, we're presenting our case to TxDOT. And as long as we are able to utilize and obligate about 57, let's just say $58 million in fiscal year 25, regardless of which projects they end up being, we need to utilize a minimum of $58 million, minimum, to get under that 200% threshold and bring our risk down to $0 million of transfer. So it's really the amount of utilization that we need to reach. And we're still analyzing future fiscal years just to make sure we continue to go into that. And again, the September workshop that we have planned for After Tech and will take place at the TxDOT Conference Center will kind of reiterate those details and what we can expect moving forward for programming funds.
Just an additional comment. At the end of the day, we've made a commitment in this policy board, shovel-ready projects move up to the top. My understanding is there may be a couple of projects out there that are getting really, really close to being shovel-ready. It's up to this policy board to determine whether or not we shuffle the funds. And this is going to be an opportunity that we have, if you will, to look at putting Cat 7 funding for those projects that are shovel-ready so we can get them out the door. I understand that there may be some concerns with that, the whole process, but we definitely don't want to lose any money. So we're going to have to start thinking outside the box and looking for those type of opportunities. And it's up to this board to make those final decisions.
Definitely agree. We do have a plan in place on how we're doing this assessment, but I think, and Luis knows this, we internally as staff have talked about looking at projects outside of the tip years and identifying which projects have AFAs, don't have AFAs, because we need to understand what's already under agreement with the state, what's already promised, and then projects without AFAs, those are the projects we're really going to be evaluating to see if they're ready to utilize the funding that we need to utilize. And again, it's not about, you know, where that money goes. It's about whether we're able to utilize that money and reduce that carryover as it goes. And we know there's a lot of needs in this region. Luis and I have talked about, looking for funding opportunities for projects that maybe will not be able to utilize Category 7 funds, knowing we've been over programmed, knowing we have a lot of projects on our books that need funding. And Category 7 may not be able to fill all of those needs. So where can we competitively apply for funding opportunities that other programs are available? And so if we can identify which projects can advance utilizing Category 7, and then which projects we still need to identify funding for, we'll be able to proceed with a plan that hopefully serves the best intents for the region. Any questions on this? This is just an informational update, and I think we'll have more details, a lot more details in September. All right.
Any other questions? Thank you, Eva. Item D, discussion regarding the RGVMPO Transportation Alternative Set Aside Program, TASA, known as Category 9.
Thank you. Thank you. My final item today, you may recall I gave you an update about 2 months ago, I believe, And we were just kind of going over the projects. You know that we have 3 groups of TASA projects that we're currently monitoring. The oldest group is in the reimbursement phase. The middle group need to obligate their projects. And then the last group should be working on advanced funding agreements. So again, looking at that and giving you an update, we are seeing requests for reimbursements go in. There have been some projects that have rebid. But we are also seeing some start construction. And again, those requests for reimbursements are going in. So we don't see any issues right now with these projects currently up here. They total about $4 million, and we're hoping to get those 4 million successfully reimbursed into the region.
No indication that anybody's going to give it up?
Not for the 2019, 2020 TASA projects. No indication. So in the 2021, 2022, as you know, the city of Hidalgo did work with the county. They let go of their Bridge Street bike plan, and those additional funds went to ELSA and Harlingen. And I believe both ELSA and Harlingen have had their procurement plans approved, and they should be proceeding with advertising requests for proposals shortly, like in the next couple months. So we know that those RFPs are being developed. They're being reviewed by TxDOT project managers, and then they should be advertising. When it comes to the 3 construction projects, we have Freddie Gonzalez, we have the West Rail Trail amenities, and we have the Bejarano McFarland Gonzalez Trail. And you can see the amounts here that are programmed for each project, about 700,000, 900,000, and 435,000. So with the Freddie Gonzalez project, a 30% set of documents was submitted June 25th, but there is still concern because there's a lot of irrigation work going around that project, and these funds need to be obligated, they need to be ready to let by May of 2025. So that's a concern. West Rail Trail, we're not as concerned because they've already submitted their 60% design and environmental. But with Port Isabel as well, they're contracting professional services. So again, we'd like to see these projects at the 60% when they have to be 100% ready to let by May. But we're just not seeing that for those 2 projects. And there's no indication that they're giving up their funding or their project. But it is just a concern when it comes to the timeline that we set ahead. So again, we've already passed these 2024 kind of deadlines. And so I put June here, but really that's when we need to receive the FPAA and the SLOA request. Do you have anything else to add? Or any questions on these groups?
I would like to add that on the Freddie Gonzalez Trail, we are working with the irrigation issue. And so that should be pretty much closed out here soon. And I believe we've had discussions with you that we should be submitting 60%, yes, in September. So we're on track with the Freddie Gonzalez Trail, as discussed with city staff and yourself.
Thank you. And I know Port Isabel, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, but just to point out, there's a timeline here. There are processes where we have to work with the divisions up in Austin, and in some cases, FHWA, where we're requesting FPAA, things of that nature. Those things take time. So if there's an opportunity to accelerate and get us that information sooner, by all means, we need to take full advantage of that. The last thing we want is to be basically held hostage where, yeah, we submitted at the last minute and there's some sort of delay at the federal level, and then all of a sudden we miss that window. So I encourage all entities to work with the MPO staff, with TxDOT staff, and submit as soon as possible.
Thank you. Yes. And I mean, we know, like, I think 2 years ago it was the city of Donna, and then a year ago it was the city of Brownsville. We have had funds lost into the region due to some of these challenges to getting projects to obligate. But I just wanted to see if Port Isabel also wanted to say anything about contracting professional services or their project, just as a courtesy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Jared Hawk, I'm a city manager. Yeah, we have already issued the RFQ for these services. We did have a little back and forth with TxDOT that delayed us issuing those. And so we've resolved those issues with the staff that we were dealing with, and we were able to go ahead and issue the RFQ for the services. So we anticipate that being in a couple weeks and then being awarded shortly thereafter. And it's a sidewalk project, so it should be fairly straightforward to move forward and have that let out well before the deadline.
Yes, thank you. I think that's basically it. It's important to know that, the policy board did award these funds in October of 2021. And so we know it takes time to get agreements, the advanced funding agreements in place. And we know it takes time to manage the projects. And I think that it's still very doable to get these projects to obligate on time, but there is no time to sit on the shelf. And I think what it does is it adds a lot of pressure to both the city's project managers and TxDOT's project managers that have to make sure that that back and forth is just not going to end until that project reaches that deadline, because then we risk as a region losing funds. So that's the big update for this group of projects.
This is for information purposes. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you.
Item E, Federal Functional Classification Status Update, Mr. Diaz.
Yes, sir. Okay, going on to everybody's favorite subject matter here, federal functional classification. So the table provided in the packet, that does show the statuses of all FC that has been coming through the MPO. The first one, we have them all color coded. So you have the different colors that represent where the request currently is. So starting first with IBTC, which is in purple, that one's pending a STIP approval. That STIP has been approved, but we haven't gotten the official notice yet. So we're pending that. Once we receive the official notice for IBTC, we will be proceeding with submitting the official FC submittal. Next on the list, you do see Morrison Road. That one has been approved by FHWA. The next one is East Loop and its surrounding area. I know that there's been a lot of question and, in regard to this particular FC request. This one is currently with TPMP still being reviewed as far as the surrounding area. So this is a much larger request than we've usually submitted for East Loop. Therefore, it's taking some more time to actually review and validate and pass it on to FHWA. I guess in a positive, light going forward to FHWA, they have been involved throughout the entire process of reviewing and actually making the recommendations of the surrounding area, which is a really good thing. So once it makes it over their way, they're already familiar with the amendments that we're submitting over. So we're hopeful that it will be a quicker turnaround once it does make it into FHWA. The next one is Russell Road. That one did get approved as well. International Drive in Starr County, Los Ebanos. That's our most recent that has been given FC in the mission area. So that one is now approved. Moving on next, Russell Road is still pending with TPMP. That's the one where we're extending the minor collector for system continuity. And the next two are the SL 195 Phase 1 and Phase 2. And those are requests from TxDOT. So we're pending those as well on the TPMP side. So that's pretty much all wrapping up with the request of FC. And down at the bottom, you have Nolana segment 4A and 4B. So next month, we're actually going to be proceeding with the FC of Nolana. Since we did have a couple of discrepancies between the mapping on our end on the MPO in relation to what TPMP and Federal Highways was mapping out. So we did get that sorted out. So now we're able to proceed as requested. So that'll be something coming up next month in August. So that's all I have for FC. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Item F, RGVMPO Executive Director's Report and Updates.
Okay, so let's go ahead and the budget. So we're well within budget right now. Total expenditures right now has been $1,201,840.89. The amount that should have been spent was $1,593,390. So the difference in that is $391,550. And that's also reflecting, back to the UPWP, which was the first item that we presented. So these are the figures behind it. And the total adjusted UPWP for the year is the $4,249,042.40. So we're well within the budget. I did want to share also that I did send out the notice for our federal review, certification review. So I did send out that notice so that everybody's aware that review is coming up in December. So December 5th through 6th is when we're going to be actually undergoing that review. So in leading up to it, staff has been heavily involved in coordinating with FHWA to make sure that we're in compliance. So with that said too, there have been a couple of changes made to our website in order to provide ease of access for those particular documents that we've been asked for. So there's a couple of things that have been worked on, along the way by staff. So coming December, hopefully it'll be a much seamless way towards certification is what we're looking for. So that's the certification update. And then we have project readiness. So project readiness was coming up for September. There was a survey that Eva did send out requesting for dates for individuals to actually register and represent for project readiness. And I did send out an email prior to where we want to limit as much as possible the consultants that are representing the local governments. We want to hear mostly from the RPICs. So that's something that I did send out. I will be sending out another reminder, but I do want to remind on that survey. The survey deadline is August 28th at 8 p.m. So if it hasn't been filled out yet, we can share that again, the link for registering for the project readiness in September. So that's coming up for us. Also wanted to share that we have in relation to Eva's presentation on TASA, we have the TASA working group coming up. The first meeting is actually going to be on the 9th of August. So that's all coordinated by the MPO. And that's all for FY 25 to 26 TASA program call. So it's all in preparation leading up to it. And then there is also a second meeting that'll be scheduled, and that's in September 13th, and the last meeting being in October 9th. So just wanted to put those dates out there and initiatives that the MPO is working on. So
Is there an idea right now of how much TASA will have this year in this round?
Do we have a figure of projected?
I want to confirm with TechStop Partners, but we're thinking $6 million. We're going to double check our numbers and make sure, but we're hoping about $6 million for the 2 fiscal years. But one thing we noticed is that TechStop, during their call for projects, actually includes 3 years of funding. They included, I think it was 23, 24, 25. And so we're wondering if we should do our call with 3 years of funding instead of 2 years of funding. And so minimum, I'm thinking 6 million, hopefully more.
Thank you.
And if you have guidance on whether we should do 2 years of funding or 3 years of funding, I'm open to it. And those working groups are really to give us your feedback on how we program projects.
But the idea, the idea here is if we get 3 years of candidates, we'll have a better opportunity. And we could always request more. If somebody out there in the Northern District cannot utilize that fund, maybe it'll come our way. So I think the more we request, the better off we'll be in the long term.
For sure. Thank you.
Anything else?
All I have, sir. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Diaz related to the director's report? Okay.
Thank you.
Item G, TechStop project status reports.
Good afternoon, Policy Board members. My name is Arlene Garcia, and today I'll be sharing the latest construction updates in our TechStop projects within Hidalgo County. First, we have FM 676, otherwise known as Main Avenue. We have our contractor, Texas Cordia Construction, working on our roadway reconstruction and widening. Our limits are from La Homa Road to Conway Avenue. We're currently at a 44% completion, and our expected completion date is November 2025. Here, you can see that our construction crew has completed our first lift of asphalt from Moorfield Road to Los Ebanos Boulevard. We're currently working on the north portion of the roadway, and the traffic is shifted south. Here, they completed our proposed 5-foot sidewalk on the north portion of the project from Moorfield Road to Los Ebanos Boulevard, and they're also working on the storm sewer line from Florida Street to Conway Avenue. And for the third portion of FM 676, which is from Taylor Road to Ware Road, our contractor is Texas Cordia Construction. We're at a 1% completion. We estimate to be completed July 2026, and we'll be widening the facility from a 2-lane to a 4-lane undivided. Here you can see that our crews have set up our traffic control. This is facing north on Ware Road, approaching FM 676. That's our official project detour during phase 1 of construction. And here, the Texas Cordia crews, they're clearing the right-of-way for our proposed temporary irrigation bypass between Benson and Ware Road.
Good afternoon, policy board members. My name is Richard Villarreal, and I'm going to be providing a project updates from the Texas San Benito area office. The first project we'll start off with is the I-69 ramp reversal project. The limits of this project is Industrial Boulevard to Loop 499 located in Harlingen, Texas. The scope of this project is the northbound and southbound ramp reversal. The contractor for this project is Foremost Paving. It is currently at a 67% completion and is estimated completed by September of this year. On this image here, you can see the northbound frontage road in which the contractor is placing the underseal in order to complete the hot mix. On this image, this is the ongoing southbound ramp, which also they're placing the underseal, and currently they have finished placing the final hot mix. For the next project, we do have SH4. This project is located in Brownsville, Texas, and the limits of this project are from I-69 to SH48. The scope of this project is to rehabilitate the existing roadway. The contractor for this project is Posilico Civil, and they're currently at a 22% completion with their estimated completed date of March of 2026. On this image here, you can see the contractor working on the flex base in order to place the bound breaker and the MC30 in order to place the RCP, the concrete paving. Same thing on this image. They're also working on the flex base. The contractor here is working from I-69 to Cleveland Road, which is phase 1 of the project. And right now, okay, I don't know.
Good afternoon. My name is Ron Escamilla, presenting on behalf of the FAR District Design Support Section for the TxDOT Bridge Project Design Updates. Okay, beginning here. Excuse me one second. Beginning with Mile 1 West Road, CSJ ending in 492, found within Hidalgo County Precinct 1. We have the environmental in progress. As for right-of-way, there are 2 parcels affected that we are seeing and currently coordinating with Hidalgo County. As for utilities, we have 3 pipes attached to the existing bridge. So for this one, we are starting utility coordination. With this, PS&E is in progress, and we're looking to let this one in March 2025. For this, we have a work authorization that's already been executed, and it's going to let with mile 17.5. Next up is mile 17.5. Environmental is in progress on this one as well. For right of way on this one, we have 2 parcels affected, and we are coordinating with the Hidalgo County on this as well. We have not identified any utilities that would be in conflict, and PS&E is in progress with mile 1 on this one. This one's also letting in March 25 with mile 1, as mentioned earlier. For Loma Blancas, ending in 114 and 116, found in Stark County Precinct 2, environmental is in progress. We are not anticipating any right-of-way acquisition, and there are no utilities identified on these 2. PS&E is in progress with this in mind as well. We are letting in January of 25. Next is Minnesota Avenue, found in the city of Brownsville. Again, environmental is in progress. We're not anticipating any right-of-way acquisition. There are utilities on this one. We've seen fiber, irrigation, and electrical on site. And with this, PS&E is in progress working with these utilities. We are looking to let in August 25 as well for this one. This is part of a work authorization that is going to let with Brown Avenue. With that in mind, we have Brown Avenue in Cameron County Precinct 1. Same thing as well with the others. Environmental is in progress. Right-of-way is in progress on this one as well. For utilities, we do have fiber, irrigation, and electrical on site with this one. PS&E is ongoing with this in mind as well. We're letting in August 25 for this project, and it is part of a work authorization with Minnesota Avenue. Next up, we have Stanger Road, found in the city of San Benito. Environmental is in progress. We are not anticipating any right-of-way acquisition. We do have overhead electrical utilities, and PSNE is currently ongoing. This design will be conducted in-house, and we are coordinating with CCRMA to let the bridge with an ongoing sidewalk project to let in August of 25. Next up is Tower Road, found in Hidalgo County Precinct 2. Environmental right-of-way utilities and PSNE all are in progress, and we are looking to let in September 25. This is part of a work authorization that is going to let with Valley View Road. In mention of Valley View Road, here's Valley View Road, found in Hidalgo County Precinct 2. Environmental right-of-way utilities and PSNE are in progress, and we are looking to let this in September of 25 with Tower Road. Again, this is part of a work authorization with Tower Road. With that, are there any questions on any of the aforementioned projects?
I had a question for San Benito District. The license of the LNG project, did y'all find out how those are gonna operate?
In what way do you mean?
Well, I mean, is there just gonna be a person turning them off and on, or they're gonna be timed, or how are they gonna work? Okay.
I'm Andy Espinosa. I'm the area engineer of San Benito. That LNG project, those signals, they're temporary in the effect that they're going to be there for several years. We're currently working with CCRMA. They're working with us on a study to see how we can basically, in the future, how we can accommodate all that development on that area. The lights on with a loop detector. So basically, when you see all the traffic going in there, they're going to stop, right? If there's no traffic, the lights are not going to turn on. Yep.
Thank you. Any further questions for TxDOT? I know you gave us an update on the interchange September, you're thinking?
Yes, main lanes would be September, and we anticipate mid-October or so for the frontage roads and the final details on the project.
The direct connectors you think will be?
The direct connectors are complete. Actually, we just did our last tie-in southbound from Edinburgh towards McAllen. We had to do a switch just this past week that affected those operations. When you were coming from Edinburgh towards McAllen, if you will, you had to exit, touch the frontage road, and then get back on. Now you have onto the main lanes,
Okay,
which will enable us to complete the segment from Cage or US 281 all the way to Jackson. That now will be able to be completed.
Very good. Any other questions? Okay, item H, Cameron County RMA status report.
Chairman, committee members, good afternoon. Pete Sepulveda with the Cameron County RMA. So just yesterday, we placed in operation the expansion of the CBP primary lanes. We added quite a bit of capacity, adding 4 passenger vehicle lanes. This is the third DAP project that has been placed in operation under the leadership of Judge Trevino. The first 2 were commercial lane projects for commercial vehicles going into the import lot at CBP. This third one is the expansion of the CBP primary passenger vehicle lanes. So again, adding quite a bit of capacity to the bridge itself. CBP is still doing the testing. They will be for about another week or so, but so far, everything looks to be working well, working the way it should be as far as the technology that was placed in each of the individual lanes. The GAP 2 project, this is the last segment going towards the Port of Brownsville. Once this segment is complete, the entire 10 miles of State Highway 550 will be Interstate 169. So we're looking forward to completing this. The PSNE is 95% coordinating with Union Pacific because we do go over the rail line. But we should be getting ready to get the environmental clearance on this project. Right of way is in place, utilities have been relocated. So we should be able to move pretty quick on the project. East Loop, same thing. We're headed towards 100% design completion. We are looking at starting the procurement process for appraisals, review appraisals, title work, so that once we get environmental clearance, we can begin the right-of-way acquisition. We anticipate potentially getting environmental clearance the next 6 to 9 months. The Flor de Mayo Bridge, we recently received a presidential permit for this project, and we're currently doing the NEPA process, working with Mexico, and we will be working on a binational feasibility study for the project. Free Trade Bridge, this will be our fourth DAP project with CBP and GSA, and this will involve remodeling the export lot at the bridge so that both U.S. and Mexican customs can do dual inspections on the U.S. side of the bridge. And that will hopefully expedite commercial and transmigrante traffic. Old Dallas Road, again, this project, the design is 100% complete, right away in place. There is one utility that needs to be relocated. It's a water line. It'll be part of the bid package for the project. We're pending a decision by TxDOT on the public involvement process. But depending on that, we can get environmental clearance in the next 30 days. Or if we do have to go through a public involvement process, probably 90 to 120 days. Dana Avenue, this project connects two state roads. We've had a public meeting that was well attended. So we continue to work. I believe we're about 30, 60 days away from getting environmental clearance on the project. So project is moving along. FM 509, we continue to work with our consultant and with TxDOT on this project, and then just pending guidance from TxDOT on a couple of issues. FM 509, this is from Business 77 to FM 508. We're going through a selection process to get a consultant to start working on the preliminary engineering environmental document for the project. Williams Road on the north, pretty much the same thing. This is a non-system project. We're working with TxDOT. We're donating the preliminary engineering environmental work on the project. State Highway 104, this is the Second Causeway project. We're coordinating the project with TxDOT and their consultant. So we'll continue to report on the progress as we move along through the environmental phase and the completion of that. Harlingen Rail Improvements, this is the realignment of rail curves along Commerce Street. This is a $5.8 million grant we received from FRA, so we're coordinating the project with FRA. South Parallel Corridor Phase 3, the design is about 60% complete. The right-of-way is in place, and we are working with one utility that needs to be relocated, and we should be able to meet the letting schedule on this project. West Boulevard, we're going through a selection process to get a consultant to complete the environmental for the project. US 281 connector, we've got a consultant on board that will start working on the preliminary engineering, the environmental document. Whipple Road, we're about to complete the preliminary engineering environmental document on the project. We've got a consultant on board to proceed with the PS&E once receive environmental clearance. This is a categorical exclusion. Outer Parkway, going through the procurement process to select a consultant on this project, but this will take off from where the I-69 connector ends on US 77. Morrison Road, Luis mentioned earlier that we had gotten function classification, so we're procuring, getting a consultant on board to proceed with preliminary engineering and the environmental document. FM 1847, this is a sidewalk project we're doing for City of Los Fresnos. Construction, I believe, is about 95% complete. So we should be finalizing and putting this under operation pretty quick. Los Fresnos Hike and Bike, we've got a consultant on board that's looking at this project and going through the preliminary engineering process. Stenger Road in San Benito, same thing, coordinating with TxDOT, but we've got a consultant that's doing the preliminary engineering, schematics, and the environmental document. Primera Road sidewalk, the same thing. We've got a consultant on board working on this sidewalk project for the city. We're doing a study to try and reutilize the rail line between Olmito and downtown Harlingen. And then US 77, there's 4 segments remaining before we can have a seamless interstate corridor from Corpus Christi to the Cameron County Veterans International Bridge. Then Chairman, this past July 15th, our own toll tag, our Fuego tag, became operational with the Harris County Toll Road Authority, which means that our toll tag, our local toll tag, is interoperable in the whole state of Texas, in Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and soon in the state of Florida as well. So our next step right now, we're working with the county, making all the bridges, international bridges in Cameron County interoperable with our tag, and then all the coastal parks at South Padre Island. And we've begun a dialogue with Mexico to make our toll tag interoperable in Mexico as well. That concludes my presentation, Chairman, but I will mention that the draft 2025 UTP is out. I know Judge Trevino, Chairman Parker, Mayor Sepulveda had already sent in their comments. Unfortunately, the draft UTP is $400 million less than the current UTP, which is not good. US 77, doesn't appear that there's any projects along 77 that are going to be funded or given statewide development authority. So in the judge's comments and the mayor's comments and Chairman Parker's comments, we are requesting that those 4 segments be fully funded at an amount of $300 million, as well as giving the FAR district statewide development authority. So I would urge you all to send in your comments. The deadline for the comments is August 5th at 4 p.m. Again, 281 and US 77 are both necessary. We need a seamless interstate corridor to come in to the Edinburgh, Cameron County area on 281, just as we need 77 to come in into the Harlingen, Cameron County area. We do have sample letters based on the different projects that the MPO has been working on the last couple of years. If any of you all need draft sample letters, let me know, and I'll be glad to email them to you. But it's important that I sent Luis a draft copy that perhaps you can look at, Chairman, and modify as needed and send it in. And then the meeting, the Texas Transportation Commission is August 22nd. That is the date when they will approve the 2025 UTP. So be glad to help with any other information on any project that y'all might need help on.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it. Luis, I would ask that you send that draft to pretty much everybody here, and let's all participate and add comments. Go ahead, Judge.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just add, and this morning we were at Kennedy County having the groundbreaking for the next segment of the I-69 stretch, leaving us the 4 pending that Pete mentioned. He mentioned the fact that we're down 400 million from last year, and in that interim, in that time frame, we've become a metropolitan district, a metro district. So we anticipated a growth or an increase, not a decrease. And I asked our friend Pete Alvarez this morning, and I reiterated, I needed to do it here before the full board, that we need to, as a region, again, as the MPO and as a region, we should be receiving more dollars, not fewer. So it was extremely disappointing. We need everyone to write in those letters with regards to UTP. We still have a little bit of time. And This is extremely important to all of us.
Any other comments? Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Pete. Hidalgo County RMA status report, Mr. Novato.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief. This, for the record, this is not in your packet. There were technical difficulties and deadlines. But anyway, I'm Ramon Navarro, for the record, Chief Construction Engineer for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority, here to present you with a brief overlook of our current project. Here is a look at the loop in its entirety. The east section F is currently left off in a lot of our projects. I know people were inquiring about it, so I'm including this slide now. And you'll see when we move on, our immediate projects and priority projects. Some of these SH-68, as you see in the middle, and IBTC now is been taken over by TxDOT, and TxDOT's the ultimate program manager on those projects. We are currently in construction on segments 1 and 2 of the 365 tollway. And here are some of the numbers for the future segments. We currently guesstimate about $2.1 billion worth of construction. We are also in charge of oversight and administering the oversized permits for Hidalgo County. You can see some of those are on the map here that are currently in use. Once the IBTC 365 come on board, we hope to be able to designate that as the ultimate truck route, alleviate a lot of congestion that's going to and from the routes on city streets, a lot of the state roadways. Of course, points of origin and destination will be responsibilities of a lot of the municipalities and the locals to be able to support that infrastructure within their communities. But those discussions will come to the table thereafter when additional funding comes to light, as Judge Trevino was bringing to scope. As far as accumulation, this program implemented on January 14th of 2014. As of June 30th, 2024, we have issued 354,726 permits, collected approximately $63 million. And there you see the share of the division of shares that go to each of the entities that oversee, with the lion's share of that going to TxDOT, which they do contribute to local projects for overweight and oversized corridors. For the year of 2024, we've issued 40,019 permits, approximately $8,178,436 have been collected, and there again you see the distribution of funds. We, as far as the local count for the month, we experienced our annual decline a month early. We came to us in June. We issued 6,200 permits, representing a 1.9% decrease of 119 permits. This usually comes to us in July, or June or July. It came a little early this year. We don't know if it's maybe the monsoon season that was being experienced in Mexico with the seasonal growth, maybe the agriculture, whatever it may be. It did arrive, but it is an anticipated decline that happens annually with it's seasonal with the trucks crossing. Moving on to construction with 365 toll. This is a 12.2-mile section of roadway going from the Anzalduas Bridge in McAllen to the FAR International Bridge in FAR, San Juan. We are concurrently constructing the toll integration project with the heavy highway section. As far as the toll collection system project, we've issued approximately one change order for $645,170. This is on schedule and hoping to be completed prior to January of 2026 when we implement the system. As far as the heavy highway project, notice to proceed was issued to the police construction on February 15th. Construction started on March 17th, 2022, with 1,264 calendar days to complete the project. It is a modified calendar day project, which means we get 4 holidays a year. Those are listed up on top. And we do have liquidated damages approximate at the cost of $16,500 per day or $250,000 average a month. Moving on to the actual numbers, to date, last month we issued 8 change orders, bringing up the total to 13. These were a accumulation of various field changes that had been instrumented and implemented, and due to FHWA audits, we were required to bring those to documentation and bring those forth. So we did the appropriate documentation, and that was approximately $464,000 worth of change orders. They were minute items with new items that weren't existing on the contract, but I'm saying minute in monetary values. Regardless, those were implemented. There are details of each change order underneath each title. In summary, we've issued 13 change orders. We've entertained 192 RFIs, 183 submittals. We continue with our levee testing, the drill shafts, roadway, MSE backfill, and irrigation structures, continuing the SW3P monitoring of the archaeological sites, continue work on embankment, underground infrastructure, and of course the levee work and retaining walls is in red. I've got a little information for you all coming forth in that. Overall, it is at 48% production, 68% time-wise. This is a delta that we have consistently carried over for the year. We are hoping to minimize this prior to the end of this year. In total, we have issued out 127,952,206. Then my glasses are also pretty bad there, Chairman. But it's 48% in calculation, and we will be orchestrating that. We are hiring some additional referee samples or quality assurance labs out of the area due to some complications with testing, and we need to make sure we get those appropriately conducted. As far as the cement-treated base along a lot of the roadway, this is a concrete paved section of roadway. We did encounter some failures along the cement-treated base, which is what the bond breaker or the hot mix section lies upon. We had some resistance from the contractor. They provided and collected falling weight data using Dynaflex machines, and we theoretically calculated various numbers and moduluses of resistivity. The ones in red were evidently failing, the ones in yellow were questionable, and the ones in green were goes. They were good. Doubtfully, these were theoretically calculated. So in common sense, what did we do? We went out and we cored. So this is a visual of where these actual roadway items are. So we got the contractor to participate with a CMT lab to go out and actually core these sections. And of course, we started at the weakest spots. If the weakest spots do not sustain themselves or hold themselves together, you know they're going to fail in reality. This first couple of cores that we pulled did fail. Those were in the red sections. A lot of the green or the yellow that was questionable did pass. As you can see here, some of the cores that we pulled out that did hold their base. This is the 6-inch cement-treated base. And of course, it's got a 1-inch bond breaker for friction. When you place the 8.5 to 12-inch concrete paving above that, it helps and assists in not only the weather, but in the load and dispersing the load over the roadway. Regardless of the technicalities, we did put in a suspension of work on the CRCP paving. This has been since lifted. We did get everything resolved appropriately. As far as the MSE wall panels, we also issued a suspension of work on production of the MSE walls. We went out and conducted formal testing. On the actual backfill materials, they did not meet the current requirements and specifications. Until this is resolved and we get an appropriate submittals and parameters met on this, we will maintain the suspension of the MSE walls on this current work. That's just a sample of the letter. We continue with riprap, and we continue putting in the under drains, irrigation. Low head pressure pipe is being installed here. We continue with the drill shafts for the bridge structures. And Mother Nature has been rough on us this last month. She created challenges of her own as far as erosion control. And that is the summary of my report. May I entertain questions or concerns at this time?
Thank you, Ramon. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item J, transit status report.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Simon Ortiz. I'm the transit manager for Brownsville Metro. And I'm here for the status reports on the transit. We did launch our mobile fare as well as a smart card project. That's something that we started July 12th of this month. It's been going successfully. A lot of users using it. They're liking it. A lot faster to pay the fare. Also, a bus shelter improvement project. We are in the process of getting 17 more. They'll be coming for, I believe, later this year as well. Bus stop improvement project includes the 8 sidewalk projects to fill in the curb cuts. And that's already out for bid. We also already launched a visibility study for the bus rapid transit. Also as well, we have an RFP out for a microtransit and operational study that the city of Brownsville is conducting. Today, actually, we launched our new diesel electric hybrid bus. We had some technical issues with the camera system, but luckily we were able to launch it this morning. And also our Tiger bus yard project is 40% completion. And here's some images of the project. Our warehouse, which is over here on the bottom right-hand corner, it's already standing, and they're just working on it right now. So it looks a lot more progress that has been going on in our bus project at our Colunga yard. Like I mentioned, this was an open, we did a mobile launch on July 12th. We actually had to push it back to July 12th due to the storm that was coming that weekend. And this is, I think I'm going to skip the ridership for all agencies, which will also be included in the package. That's the ridership included for all the agencies here in the Valley. And Island Metro ridership is included here for a month all the way to April. McAllen's Metro ridership as well included here. I believe this week they launched a route expansion on their bus routes. Valley Metro, you've already seen the new unit out there, so it's in service. So I'm glad users are using it. And also here with Valley Metro, some projects that they have going on, the travel training. They have also CDO Academy as well, and the RTOP Valley Metro, which is a 5-year regional transportation coordination plan that they have going on. And also I talked to Valley Metro. They're also launching a smart card. Is that still coming up? Okay, good. So that's also exciting that another agency is also starting that. And I'll entertain any questions or comments.
Any questions, comments? Would like to take a minute to thank Island Metro and Tom and Judge Trevino for helping us coordinate the Island Metro service for the South Texas Judges and Commissioners Conference that was conducted out at South Padre Island last month. It was very helpful to the attendees to be able to get that assistance and getting from hotels to the conference center and to different events. So thank you guys. Thank you for your help in coordinating those efforts. Any other questions? There being none, we'll move on to other business and old or new. Anything? Javier?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to extend an invitation this coming Monday at 1 p.m. Travis County Judge Andy Brown is going to be visiting us. He's hosting one of his statewide Texas Passenger Rail Advisory Committee meetings here in this very boardroom. We have sent email invitations out. I sent some out. I know he sent some out. We worked on coordinating. We'll be grabbing lunch before the meeting between 11:30 and 12:45 here in Wesco. And essentially, he was talking about getting letters of support to getting fair share for rail in the state of Texas. And one of the reasons why we wanted to host it here is so that we can be included in any corridor identification development projects in the future. TxDOT Rail Division did include us in their letter of intent for their first application, but not their actual application. So we got great feedback that we can make a case for ourselves to be included in a future application. So we sent those invitations out, and we just wanted to extend to everyone here to join us.
Thank you, Javier. Any other announcements, business?
Yes, just one. I do want to share that this is actually Miguel Arispe's last Transportation Policy Board meeting. He will be moving on to, other pastures. On the 9th is actually his last day. So with that said, we do have positions open with the MPO as well for planners and GIS. So, those are posted on the RGVDC website. But thank you, Miguel, for all the time.
Thank you, Miguel.
Good luck. Where's the cake, man? Need something to wake us up. It's been a very informative meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Our next meeting will be in person at 1:30 on August 28th, 2024, here in this location. And with that being said, it is now 3:18 and we will adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.